Jenny, welcome to The Unmaking. Where are we parked right now and why?
Oh, John, hi. Nice to be here. Back here, it was my early 20s. I came down from the North Island with a girlfriend in an old Bedford camper, travelling around the South Island. We caught up with some friends that I knew from Outward Bound days. He was into jet boat sprinting, and the Matukituki River was, back in those days, jet boat sprinting. So we came out and stayed here and joined them. Us girls were the navigators in the boat, and we just had an absolutely blast, as you do when you're in your 20s. And Wānaka was my favourite pad, and here I am 40 years later living here. Well, it was probably, no, it would have been 30 years. Yeah, so we've been here for 23 years now.
And that would have been a trip down from Tauranga then, was it? Or,
yeah, we came down. My husband's family are living in Cromwell, and we thought, eventually it would be nice to have a stint in Central Otago. Let's do that sometime. And we thought, let's just do it for 2 or 3 years and we'll head back home, because we had a nice little lifestyle block in the hills by a river, and we quite like living up there. And but no, we fell in love with the area, fell in love with, it wasn't just Wānaka, it was everywhere. The South Island, and it all started from there, really.
Let's go right back to the beginning then. You were adopted as a baby into a farming family in Tauranga. What do you remember about how that landscape shaped you? The farm, the bush, that physical world that you grew up in?
Yeah, fantastic upbringing. And I was thinking about that driving out here. This is the unmaking, and for me, being adopted at 2 weeks old was the start of the unmaking, or the remaking. I was unmade at 2 weeks old. And I think being born or being adopted into a farming family in the Bay of Plenty was just the best lifestyle that a child could ask for. We had free range all day long. I was the youngest of 5. Yeah, they were a great family, well established in the community, and it was a good life,
And what were you farming? What was the product or produce?
Dad diversified a wee bit. It was mostly dairy. He started off with dairy. I think he started with like 60 cows, and then slowly over the years built that, and then he went into a bit of beef, he went into deer, a little bit of sheep, he even tried orchard fruit growing. So he had a go at everything. I think back in those days they did, didn't they? They had to reinvent themselves a lot. He pioneered some of the land, broke it all in from bushclad, which you don't do anymore. But with a family of 7 of us, he had a go at everything really, and it's a good life.
And when how old were you when the conversation happened in terms of learning that you were adopted? Do you remember that specifically?
Very much. Sitting on the steps and outside the balcony, and I was 7, and it was very natural. It was really nice. It was a nice age to hear that. And it was probably around 7. I think it's a big age of crossroads, and it was then that I was thinking, where's my place in this family? So maybe that's when they thought it was the right time.
And were your siblings all adopted as well?
No, I was just the only one. They had 3 boys and then a girl, and I think they didn't want to have any more boys. There was the 60s, lots of children, or quite a few up for adoption in those days, and they thought, let's do this. Other family members had done it. Aunts and uncles had been down that track as well, all farming people, and had the room, and it's just what you did, I think, in those days.
There's something interesting, I think, as well in the fact that you grew up in such a rural environment, and those questions of identity and then landscape features so heavily in your work now. Do you see a connection between your upbringing and your work and what landscape brings to you?
I think what landscape brings to me is questions. I see landscape not just as a pretty picture. I really feel I'm in tune with the weather, and Like, here I am sitting here now, I have to keep looking out at it. It guides me. Yeah, landscape guides me. Weather, nature. I'm always telling my children, if they're having a tough day, just get out in nature, go and feel the grass or get into the bush, or I think we can gather a lot of emotion, a lot of calm, reflection, a bit of everything. I think we're forgetting to listen to nature.
Were you aware of its importance then when you were younger, or did that come more later? It was more sort of as a backdrop to your childhood and part of it, but you weren't perhaps tanking from it, or was did that tanking come later on?
Maybe my subconscious. I think I spent a lot of time outside as a child, always outside, whether it was in the bush making tree huts or just on the farm somewhere. Right from 7, I used to draw. I'd design houses inside and out. I didn't know then that my birth dad was an architect, but learned that later in life. I think I had a fairly creative family. It wasn't just all about farming. I think my father drew, my mother was making everything. She was the real maker, as most of them were in those days. So creativity was probably always in our family as well.
And is open adoption, is that the right term in terms of if you can then trace your birth parents, and so that was something that you did, you felt ready to do? How old were you when you started that process?
Legally you could only search for them when you're 18, so it's pretty much what I did actually. I always had the support of my family, support of friends, and as soon as I turned 18 or close enough, I contacted social welfare and got a little bit of information, the original birth certificate, because throughout, probably from about 11, this identity thing would come up, and I didn't know where, you look at yourself and where do I get all this from, and just didn't really know anything about my past. And so all I knew was she was young, or she was 19, from Australia, and a little bit about him, but not very much. Didn't even have a name. So I think I learned a little bit like she was a ballet dancer or something, and I used to look through Australian magazines to see if there was anyone that looked like me. I mean, how bad is that? That's pretty desperate, isn't it? I mean, I don't recall being sad about it. I was just inquisitive. I just was curious. I wanted this identity thing.
Sounds completely logical to me, 100%.
Yeah, so here I am flicking through Australian Woman's Weekly to see if someone looked like me. I mean, that's just crazy. But I finally tracked her down. Probably it actually was a bit hard. She'd moved around a lot. She'd been married a couple of times, changed her name. So it wasn't until I was about 24 that I actually found her. Probably started looking around 21, 22 properly. 18 was when I just got the original birth certificate and a little bit of information, and give that a few years to soak in, and then away I went. And came to a lot of dead ends, and my adoptive mother helped me look, and we ended up employing a private investigator. Back in those days we didn't have Facebook and all the other avenues now, so that's what we did, and we found her in Borneo.
That experience is not always positive for people that do that. Looking back, you say, yes, that was a positive experience. You were able to answer the questions that you had and move on?
Very positive. I was really lucky. Yeah. So
you left school then at 16 to become a hairdresser, and did that for 15 years. There's a tremendously creative component to hairdressing, but it's not always the stepping stone that you'd say for somebody that is then going to go on to become a successful artist and award-winning artist. But I think I've read that you said that it taught you to listen, to ask questions, taught you about people. How much of what you do now can you kind of connect back to those hairdressing experiences?
What I do now? Obviously being creative. I was fairly competitive as a hairdresser. That's the part of it I enjoyed. We'd go to competitions and I'd have to create something on the floor, and I think it's a clean slate or blank canvas part of it that I like. That's what I relate it to. When I first did art, well, I've always practiced art off and on over the years, but after art school, I was drawn to taking things away, which I guess is what came from with my hairdressing, cutting hair away from people. So I was drawn to carving wood and carving stone. So in my early days as an artist, I was going around garden shows and Ellerslie Flower Show and making stone sculptures for gardens. So that was kind of part of, and hair, I was carving hair and people and life-size people, and yeah, it was just sort of a natural progression, I suppose. They didn't talk back, which was quite nice.
Did you have a particular category? Was this freestyle? Because I remember I was a model in a hairdressing competition, I think when I was 18, and the hairdresser talked me into it and told me it was going to be, the men's section, and then I think 2 days beforehand he told me no, he'd changed his mind and we were going to be in the freestyle section, which had quite a different outcome for me in terms of the end result. But did you have a specialty?
Yeah, probably open freestyle. Yeah, I like doing things that were pretty out there.
Men or women
both.
or both?
Both, yeah.
And who was easier to work with?
Men are always a lot cruisier. Women are a little bit more precious about the hair, I think. But yeah, it's just people that are up for it, really, up for the challenge and have a go, and you can fix what they don't like about it afterwards. So yeah, I think it's a good experience for everyone all round. So yeah.
You've lived in many different countries, and yet your work is very still and very rooted, I think, in New Zealand landscapes. What's the relationship between that life that you've led of constant movement and the art that you do that is so anchored here?
What is it? I think we lived in third world countries a lot of the time. That's when I had... I think that's where I did a lot of personal growth. Nature was my draw card because it wasn't around. Living in 2 cities in Vietnam, in Delhi in India, Malaysia, they were all overwhelmingly busy of all your senses, your noises and your smells and your people. And so art for me there was my release and my meditation with getting away from all of that. And I probably if anything, I drew people in the desert with the animals, but it was really overwhelming to be creative of what's happening around you because it's just too much on your senses. So, yeah, practiced the landscape is my go-to.
And what was the personal growth that you had in those cultures, and why was it possible there, perhaps, or why was it triggered there than perhaps it wouldn't have been in other locations?
Hard. It's back to hard, isn't it? When you're doing life a bit hard is where you do all your growth. So, yeah. And meeting different cultures, different people from all parts of the world. I think what I loved about being an expat was that you are a clean slate. No one knows you. You can be anybody you want to be. And that's great. It's just, I loved it. I love travelling, love people, find people interesting. And through art, you're meeting all different types of people. In India, I opened a yoga studio and an art gallery, art space. So within that, we met a lot of yogis from India and a little bit of street children art, diplomatic art. It brought people together. So I love that about it.
Had you been practicing yoga before you moved there, or did that come from being on location then?
Probably touched on it a little bit, but it was more definitely India. We're practicing it every day. Yeah, it was awesome. So good.
Many people in that sort of situation tend to either stay or go quite insular and only mingle in the expat community. And yet you did open that studio with the street children sharing their art. There's a lot of creative generosity behind that. Did you think at the time was there something specific behind that that need or that compulsion perhaps to do that impulse?
I think as a travelling spouse, you are trying to find something of purpose. Yes, art is always there, but you're kind of striving to gel with people around you. We lived in a normal suburb, so our neighbours were Indians. And obviously people from all over the world, but because we were, overseas, we were Kiwis. Not many Kiwis. It wouldn't meet many Kiwis when we were there. But, yeah, I think, fascination. Yeah. It's just curious with people and cultures. I find people interesting.
And were they already doing their own artwork and things, or was this is something you were helping them and teaching them?
Both,
both.
Both.
And then exhibiting and,
Yeah, I met a couple, a lovely Indian couple that were, he owned a linen company, and they helped a lot of poor people and helped them learn to teach reading and writing in English. And through them, I would go there and sit down with some children and listen to them reading English. And through them, they said, well, would you consider doing an art exhibition for some of the children that we have? And some of them are street children, and they love art. And I said, yeah, I'd love to. So it kind of started through that way, really. Yeah.
What apart from purpose, was there something else that experience gave you that you've taken with you that you still carry with you today?
Look, I think just knowing that we're brought up in New Zealand and we're so lucky. You've got to give back, don't you? Yeah, crazy. No, it's a little bit of expectation when you're a trailing spouse and you have time is to, help people around you. Yeah, it's right in your face every day. There were beggars knocking at our door most mornings asking for things. Every time you go out in the car, stop at the traffic lights, there's children begging for something. How can you not do a little bit? Yeah.
It's not always easy, though, in that situation. A lot of people then evolve or devolve to whatever the local setting is and basically stop seeing that or stop being aware of it. I'm thinking of South Africa and what I experienced there and seeing people that were able to live in the most amazing locations, but just sort of backing on to people in just the most terrible poverty and to be able to reconcile that for themselves. And they just didn't see it anymore. And I struggled with the concept, but I imagine that when you are in it, that's maybe one way to get through it for a lot of people. That's what they do because of the weight of that.
Yeah, it's quite a
what
way.
You see and experience.
You can understand why people just become numb to it, for sure. But they also throw too much of one thing at it as well. A lot of it doesn't work, and it just keeps going back to how it always has been. How it was. So it is a vicious circle. People think they're helping. The people I saw, they were poor, but often they were actually quite happy. They're very accepting, and I think that was one of my biggest lessons, was they accept what they're born into, their birthright. It's probably only really just in the last generation that the maybe 30, 40-year-olds now are starting, we want this, we want, they've got the phones and they've got this and they've got that. But mostly they were so accepting of their fate and who they were, which, again, there's something to learn in that, isn't there? It's another culture that you learn, actually you don't always have to have all these material things and we're okay, yeah.
You also, during that time, you homeschooled your children over multiple continents. Mm-hmm. What did that experience teach you?
Well, we love adventure. We do like doing it a bit hard. We don't like being too comfortable in life. And why did we do it? Why have we? Well, I guess we were working over there. So, yes, we want our children to learn through doing. I mean, for me, school wasn't my thing in a big way. I went to school for art and sport. My husband's very open to how we live our life. He likes a bit of adventure as well. Luckily, his work took him to these countries, and I always said, yep, I'm up for it. Let's go. Let's have an adventure. And then the children came along and we did the same with them. So whether we were working in that country or travelling, I think it's just, for us, that's where we did our best learning. Seeing other cultures and, I think a lot of people here in Wānaka are very similar, aren't they?
It's
They've
true.
Come from somewhere else and, back to beauty.
You also adopted, so you adopted your children, which came relatively quickly, I think, in terms of when you got the call. I think, was it 4 days later? And I think the call came, was it on the day that Neville had
Yes,
resigned his
that's
job?
right.
There was a lot going on. Can you take me back to that time? What was going on? That must have been an emotional roller coaster, I'm assuming. The attempts to have biological children and the frustrations and disappointments associated with that, and then the decision, and then suddenly you're off to the races.
Yeah, sure.
How was that?
Yeah, it's funny because our life kind of followed us around like that, where decisions were made very quickly. It was often buying a house where you would fall in love with the first one we saw. Yep, let's get that. A job. Yep, we'll take that job. And then children followed. They came really fast as well. We tried for about 4 years and nothing happened. We'd moved back from overseas thinking, yep, right, let's start a family. I think I was 30, living on a lifestyle block in the Bay of Plenty with animals. And we had lots of different animals. So 9 sheep, a pig, a donkey, what else did we have? A cat. Just had the perfect setup to have a family, and then family wasn't coming. So we thought, well, okay, it's not coming. Let's consider adoption. Let's consider surrogacy. All those things. We did IVF. That failed. So we kind of thought, well, nothing's happening. We're on the adoption profile where you go to these courses and they find out everything about you, and you have to fit the profile. But what was good is that was the birth mother that chose. You sent in, I think they'd send profiles to a birth mother. So you're kind of, 1 out of 12, are we going to get picked? Because this isn't that long ago. This is 23, 24 years ago. Adoptions weren't happening very often. So we thought, oh, well, we've got to try. And I think we had been on that profile for about 3 or 4 months, and we got the call, and we were thinking, oh, it'll take ages and it'll probably never happen. And so let's do something different. Let's apply for another job and go head down south. Let's go to Christchurch. There was a job offer there. My husband accepted. It was in the morning that he resigned, and he was having lunch with the boss because they got on well. And then I got a call in the afternoon, and they said a lady has chosen you two to be the mother to her son, who was born on Christmas Day, and he could potentially be with you in 4 days. And when you hear people, the terminology saying jumping for joy, I seriously was jumping for joy. It was just right out there, It was awesome. It was really cool because we just want to be parents. So I rang my husband, and he said, come on down, join us for lunch. Let's celebrate. The boss's wife joined us, and we celebrated, and it just, we're still good friends with them, and this is coming up 25 years ago, and it was all started from there, really. I mean, we left, I think it was 2 weeks later, or it might have been it was longer. It was about 6 weeks later that we left for Christchurch with our newborn, with our son. He was a bit older. He was about six weeks old by then. We'd had him for 2 weeks. So what happened, it wasn't the 4 days after all. They were a bit worried the birth mum might have been changing her mind. So they just held back for a little bit, and we got him when he was 6 weeks. So that was a very nervous time, but it happened. So we moved down to Christchurch, and then 8 months later, my doctor said to me, would you consider adopting again? And I said, yes. And he said, well, this one's a bit complicated, but, if you're keen, I'll give you some more details. Yeah, so 8 months later, we got our daughter from Wellington. Went up there and met the birth parents. And, 11 days later, we brought her home.
That's a pretty fast turnaround. What's the briefing process like, and did you compare that to your parents' experience in terms of how the authorities then prepared you then for this new life and this new person coming into your lives and all the challenges associated with that?
I don't think there was much briefing in the day for me because there was a lot of adoptions in the 60s. I know they actually kept it a secret from everybody because one of my siblings, one of the brothers, Brian, he actually thought they were going up to Auckland to buy a new tractor. And they came back with a baby. So,
Wow. That was a good, interesting
that's a bit of a joke.
one. Yes,
Yeah, it
yeah.
is. Yeah. But no, I don't know. I don't know the difference now. Yeah, couldn't answer that one. I think it was pretty quiet. Mm.
If your body of work had a soundtrack, what sort of genre or mood would that be?
It would actually probably just be the piano, nothing else. I don't know why I like that. I like the space that a piano delivers, and it just lingers on the notes.
Ragtime, classic, jazz, what's any sort of direction? It's more the instrument, the notes, the tonality that can come out from that instrument.
More the notes, yeah.
And does that differ depending on what you're listening to in the studio when you're working? Is that your go-to music?
No, it's not my go-to music, actually. My go-to music's probably blues and jazz, and it depends on my mood. It's a bit of everything. I like to think I like a bit of everything. Nothing too head bashy, because that does my head in. But no, I like all sorts of music. Yeah. Not very musical myself. Had a go at the violin with the children when they were little.
Oh, that's a torturous instrument, isn't it? To when you're learning or you're having to listen to somebody learning the violin, I think there's few instruments that are perhaps more torturous.
So perhaps my husband should have had a go at it as well then. Yeah. So no, music is just pretty standard for me. Yeah.
Several times you've either chosen to start or be part of artist-led collectives rather than being represented by commercial galleries. I understand the business logic to that, sort of in terms of terms like the direct-to-consumer, vertical integration, market access, those sorts of things spring to mind. But did you think of it in those terms, or what was behind those, and what is behind those decisions? You're now part of the Arte Collective in Luggett, part of starting that.
It's probably through just the change of the art scene. I mean, I did supply a lot of galleries around New Zealand for probably most of my art career, up to 20 years. And that's just changed over the years. There's a lot of artists out there. They don't have the big openings like they used to. They don't represent you the same. I think it just goes up and down. There's a cycle, and I think, for me personally anyway, I just felt they didn't represent me the same as what they used to do, and so you kind of find your own way.
And if you walk into a commercial gallery now, do you feel a part of that world, or does that feel like a different world to you now? If you look at the work that's in there, how it's being communicated, how it's priced, how do you relate to that?
Yeah, some of the big commercial ones, definitely I feel like, well, why am I bothering? This is just really cool work, and it's big prices, and it's like, that'll never be me. But then it's like, well, that's not what I do art for. I do art for me and for a form of communication. And I mean, the icing on the cake for sure is when somebody purchases your work. It's a real honour to have someone actually fork out money. But for me, it's that connection with that person. I mean, I love to talk, and I actually like to talk about, not so much about myself, which is weird today, but I like to just chew the fat about life and people and why, and we don't get that chance so much anymore. And so working in the Arte Collective, people come in and they see you painting, and we stand together and we chat about stuff, all sorts of things. It's amazing what people, because we're just sitting there, that we are valuable. And I love that about art. I love being valuable in the public space where people feel safe and they can have a chat with us. When we're losing that. That's a big drive for me, is to try and be in more of a public environment with our art as a person as well as just my work.
Has that decision to be more direct, to have that contact directly with those people that then are purchasing your art, has that cost you anything in terms of access to a certain type of collector or curator, or is there a version of your career that would be different if you hadn't chosen that route?
Good question. I don't know. No, it's weird where people see your work. I've been around for a while, and I think your work sits on walls and it's signed and people see it. I don't know where. I mean, you get asked from all sorts of Waiheke Island and Auckland and all sorts of places. I don't know where people find your work. I don't know when you win an award, why did they choose my work? It's just something you accept and go with the flow.
I think talent probably has a lot to do it.
Yeah,
That's what I think why people choose your work and why you win awards. One of your prize-winning works, Gathering of Nature, came from a helicopter flight around, I think it was 15 years ago. Your son, around the time, I think 11, had a serious head injury. You're in the helicopter flying there, and what must have been an intensely stressful and worrying time, but you taking photographs out the window of clouds, which I think says something about you perhaps as an artist, or what was going through your head at the time?
It's mother's intuition. I knew he was okay. Well, I hoped he was okay. Oh, well, opportunist. It's not very often every day you get to sit in a helicopter, and that time of the day was perfect for taking photos. It was taking all the complicated bits out. And that's another little bit for me is why I paint, is I do like taking the complicated bits out because life is full of complications. The helicopter trip, yes, there was complicated things going on, but I seriously knew my son was okay. And I wasn't stressing because we had 2 paramedics in the helicopter on the way to Dunedin and they were all over it. They knew he was fine too, but just doing, all the checks. So that was, it was an opportunity. I thought, no, I don't get this chance very often, and it just felt right. Yeah, you got to keep that door open, don't you? In the weirdest of times and places. So.
And were you taking those photographs with the idea I'm going to paint this, or did that come later? And if so, then how much later?
Yeah, it came later. It came quite a few years later. My visual diaries are full as. I mean, I've got so many photos that are potential paintings. And if they're still lingering there 5-10 years away, and it still lights something up in me, then I think, yeah, this is probably worth pursuing. I still like this. I still get that emotion in it. It takes me back or makes me feel this way, so I'm going to paint it. At the time, it was at Lake Onslow that I painted, but it was ironic that it was, not long after that they came out in the news that was potentially going to be a power source. So that was in a change it. I don't know whether, I think there's a bit in our subconscious that we pick up on in the news and just around us as artists, and it's lingering in the back of our minds to paint one day. It just was timing, but yeah, it was a water source that's really important up there, and it looked awesome. So yeah, it was almost like it was speaking to me.
What's a visual diary? What does that look like?
A lot of photos, and I've usually edited them whenever I get a chance. I'll edit them and I'll change things around. It's probably also words that I like, clippings, magazines, life, people. I'm visual, so rather than writing it all down in words in a diary, it's endless amounts of files of photos.
But analogue, so printouts,
No,
bits of paper, or it's digital? Okay,
it's
a mix
it all
or
away.
Digital.
Yeah.
And is this a daily practice, weekly, monthly, sporadic?
It's
What's it
absolutely
look
daily.
like?
Can't help it. Yeah.
Wow.
Can't help it. That's just what we do.
How long have you been doing that for?
Years.
And is this something that you learnt during your studies?
No. Through your studies, I think at art school I have got a diary, paper diary, but I just hardly ever use it. It's been used a lot in the past, but not now so much. I've sort of found my way now. It's like, yeah, okay, that's what they tell you to do, and draw every day, paint every day. But no, that doesn't work for me. I need to research every day. I need to stop, rest, and absorb.
And then going back to that content from the past, what does that look like? Are you going specifically back to say that what was happening this time last year, or I haven't gone and had a look or flick through things recently, go back through?
Yeah.
What does that look like?
Yeah,
Or do you remember something specifically that you want to go and look at?
I do go back to a lot of photos because it's the feeling I have, it's the mood I'm in, it's the conversations I've had with somebody. And I think, aha, I remember, I've taken a shot of that. You know, it's just, yeah, it's all there. I mean, a lot is in our heads as well, so I guess a bit gets forgotten. But a yoga teacher taught me that memory is okay when you forget things. It's the important things that you remember, so it's okay to forget a lot too.
Are you still working in wood carving and stone, or is this now your work has evolved to become, it's less about taking things away and it's more about creating things and bringing things together?
Yeah, no, well, that's probably more of a practical reason I stopped carving, because I love it. I'm still drawn to carving, but we live in an apartment now, so it's messy and noisy, and yeah, stone was a bit more of a fashion as well, sculpture. Now it's more metal work, so I don't think there's really a place for, you've got to have a bit of a commercial aspect in you too. You want to sell your work if you want to keep going to a point. I think for me, I wanted to prove to my husband when I was 30, I'd had enough of hairdressing, and I've always tappered with painting and drawing, but I wanted to prove to him that there's more to it than just a hobby. I want to do art school. I want to do this as my next job. This is what I love. So there was a bit of a drive to prove to him that, yeah, this isn't just a hobby. This isn't just a thing.
And how natural or organic was his support in that situation? Was this something that he immediately saw, 100%, this is important
not
to you?
straight away.
Or it's not, okay, it took a while to,
Yes. Well, at the time, $4,000 was a lot of money. So, yeah, stopping work. That was full-time for a year. It was only a year. But, no, it paid off. It was great. Yeah. No, it worked for the first student exhibition. Everything sold. I had a great gallery that represented me, and it was just, this is where I want to go.
And no periods of doubt through that initial process and learning in terms of, have I really done the right thing here? Have I bitten off too much to chew, or is this perhaps the wrong direction?
As an artist, there's always a bit of doubt. Yeah, we always think we're not good enough, but it's what I love, so we just, you keep striving forward with it. It is a shame when people stop being creative. I think we all need to be, whatever we do, isn't it? And it's not always the right time, and it's not always the best produced piece of work, but it's also what how it's made me feel, and there's always somebody else that feels that same way. So, yeah, and I think you can pass it on through your work. It's a real honour, really. If people get it, they get it. So.
Gathering of nature was a sort of an aerial perspective from the helicopter or from above, but you paint a lot of trees with the sort of behind under the mantra of people should look up more. Mm-hmm. What's behind that? Why do you want people to look up more?
Probably back to nature. I mean, it's a little bit about keeping your chin up as well, but it's also we get bogged down in the nitty-gritty of everyday life. And I think if we can just, stop getting into what you're getting into, and it's usually looking down at something, whether it's a computer or a book or something, just stop, look up. Yeah, keep looking up. I just think we're forgetting that. We're looking down too much, aren't we? Yeah.
You're known, I think, now primarily as a landscape artist, which brings a sort of stillness and calm, which I think you talk about, and yet if I look at your work, there's some things that perhaps speak to me, and it's a little bit of foreboding or melancholy or sadness maybe, or almost a warning in some ways. Am I outing myself like a sort of a Rorschach kind of ink test kind of way? Or is that something that is actually, yes, that is in there?
Yeah, it is in there, yeah. I am a bit worried about the world. Yeah, there is a heaviness about it. And that's probably what I've been painting a bit lately. Yeah, it just comes out of us, it comes out of how I feel. I actually can't help paint what I paint. Yeah.
Do you know that at the beginning if you're looking at a landscape, or does that come during the process then while you're painting it, that those emotions come through as part of the work while you're creating it?
all of the above, yeah, right from the beginning right to the end. But I do tend to lose myself. I try really hard not to overthink it and just let it be. But there's got to be a trigger to get me started. It's inspiration, and that's big. And then you've got the whole painting, your technique, your composition, your choice of colours, your subject. That's why research is really important, and how I'm feeling about the world, not just myself, my inner self. It's about what's going on around us.
On the daily, or on a more sort of a general kind of level? Or is this like, if you painted this landscape, if you painted this today, with exactly that same weather and outlook, if you painted that today, would that be a different painting than if you painted it in 2 weeks' time or 2 weeks ago?
It would be more around the current, maybe over the last couple of years, my paintings, or maybe the last year. It's all subject to the environment around me, to how I'm affected by how I paint.
And do you have the experience where a piece might like turn during the process of creating, that you thought it was going to be one thing and you're going in one direction, and suddenly you step back and think, oh, okay, I didn't expect that.
It does that quite often. Yeah, it changes a little bit, and I like that. And I found that even in stone carving, and you really can't make too many mistakes in stone carving, but you kind of just had this intuitive feel that, let it, just go with it, let it do its thing. A little bit more free form, a little bit more abstract. I think for me personally, I think my work can be a bit tight, so I'm forever trying to loosen up and make it more abstract. I think we need to have more of an abstract view on the world, and for some reason I keep going back to being tight.
Do you use the term or the qualifier semi or quasi surreal, which I thought was interesting? So if I look at your work, I would initially say I don't see a lot of surrealism, but is the semi-surreal, is that coming through the emotion that you're experiencing, or that you're injecting or infusing into the work?
I think so. Yeah, I can't really answer that, to be honest. It's just like, you just do what you do. I can't put a label on it. I can't put a name on it. I call it semi-surreal because it's not real. It's it's not a photo taken, it's not true to life. It's an emotion in my work, I guess, is the semi-surreal for me.
You've been painting New Zealand landscapes for a long time now. How is your relationship to the land and to the landscape and to Aotearoa? How has that changed over that period?
How has it changed over just throughout my art career, do you mean? I think it's probably my surroundings. Yeah, we're pretty sensitive to our surroundings. Like when I lived in the North Island, we lived more near the ocean, so I probably painted more oceans. The environment. The mountains here, I think that it speaks to me more down here. For me, mountains... everything represents something. Mountains represent permanence and stability. Trees represent, the foundation of who we are, and branching out and into different realms of living. Water is serenity if it's calm, because that's the first word, because it's calm today. But all the different meanings of what nature is. So it depends on where I'm at with what's happening, environment around me.
What about the figures that you sometimes incorporate in your work? I think you use the term guardians. Mm-hmm. Are they protecting the land from us? Are they protecting us? What are they guarding, or what's their role?
Yeah, it is. It's just guardians of the land. For me, it is remembering the past. They're a little bit ghostly looking. I think that's remembering the people that have come before us, and all shapes and sizes and cultures, and just remembering. And this is everybody's land. We're all in it together, and just think about the future with that, I suppose, is by remembering who's been here before us.
You've also illustrated a children's book. So Shrek, the world-famous merino that evaded shearing for a few years and then produced a world record fleece. Do you know how many copies of that book have been sold now?
No, I don't know. I'm not up to date with it, but there was a couple of 50,000 copies stickers there a long time ago, so I don't know how many now. Yeah, a lot.
And I think it's also in Te Papa as well, is that right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. This is a wee while ago now, so it's still out there on the shelves, so that's cool. That's good.
How did you find that working in that format and for that audience?
Really hard. I'm not a watercolourist. I'm not an illustrator. It was really hard, and we had to have it out in 6 weeks' time. So our children were still in nappies when that happened, and it was a fundraiser for the local terrace school. So they took the children in, and the children at school taught how to change nappies, because I dropped them off there, and I'd wander race back home to our little old caravan and have a go at illustrating a children's book. It was an awesome time because we were all in it together. The children had their bit, the teachers were very involved, the community. It was a real team effort. It was really cool. Very cool part.
And were you relatively new to the community at that point, were you?
I think, maybe we'd been there for a year and a half, perhaps, 2 years. Yeah, that was just at Terrace, and just such a lovely farming community. Felt very embraced. It was lovely. Yeah.
I think that also enabled the school to fund a second full-time teacher, which must have been pretty satisfying at the time.
No, it did. That was very cool. And the trips that we had with Shrek, we took him to Auckland, and it was just such a fun time. Yeah, the children got a lot out of it with the computers and the extra teacher, and this is going back, how long? 15 years ago now. I don't know. It'd be interesting to find out how that's still ticking along, how it's still helping the school. Those are one of the best. At the time there was a lot of work involved by parents and teachers and students, but that was something for them all to be proud of. So,
I think in many ways that sheep really put Terrace on the world map, didn't it? In terms of, and also as a tourist destination, and what's there now in the little village, and the statue there of Shrek, and so I'm assuming that book is still being sold there, maybe in different languages. I'm not sure whether they've
there's a few different languages. There was. Yeah, I don't know where there is now, but there was then. Yeah, so very cool.
What role does politics play in your work? And you talked about the environment, the importance of it to you, Lake Onslow, those sorts of issues, talking about Terrace, Bendigo Station, what's happening there, with mining down here. Where do you stand with politics and introducing messaging into your work?
Very quietly. No, I'm not politically driven. I do care about the land. I also care about the economy, about putting food on the table for people. I care about protecting the land. So I can see there's a way forward for it to work for everybody. I think politically you've got to try and make it work for everybody. And for me, I think you've got to be able to see a little bit of yourself in everyone. This is the sad state of the world, isn't it? I think they've forgotten to have a look at themselves within their enemy. We're all kind of the same, really, at the end of the day. So is it just a lot of egos floating around, or what is it? I'm always questioning that. I get frustrated. But whether or not it comes across in my work, I don't try to. Sometimes it sneaks in.
You've lived in Wānaka for a while now. What role has this town and its landscapes and its people played in your life and your work?
People are real.
The people here?
Yeah, people are real, or they're trying to be. And they're just embracing life and having a good time. Most people have chosen to live here, and that's refreshing. But for me, I think we just do a lot of learning through nature. So if times are tough, get up in the hills, get out in the lake, just walk on the grass, just whatever, I think nature's right at our doorstep, so we have no excuses. It's always going to be tough wherever you live. On those tough times, shit happens in life, and if we can embrace nature and make the most of it, keep looking up and getting out there, the world's got to be a better place. I think sadly everyone's moving to the cities more and more, and you don't get that chance to look up and stop and feel nature, and even perhaps get out into the rain and feel it onto your face, or be creative. But you're not everybody's creative.
I'm not sure. I mean, I think everybody has the potential to be creative. It's in there. It's whether or not you let it out, or you perhaps are in an environment that brings it out, or there's somebody in your personal environment that can help to facilitate that. It's
true. It's true. Yeah. And when I have the opportunity to teach children, off and on over the years, it's back to what a art teacher told us once, was it's all really about mark making. Isn't it? It doesn't have to be the perfect picture. You don't have to be a great drawer. Just make some marks.
I think it will be really interesting to see, in terms of the children that are growing up now with we used to talk about the one-eyed babysitter back in the day, but that was television. But now, in terms of the amount of, particularly short-form video that I think is an imagination killer for children, in terms of how that's going to impact their creativity. How do you look at that?
Yeah, big time. Yes, yeah. How can we not when, I'm, a 60s baby, no one knew where we were through the day. We were out and about playing and building things, and so it's a big contrast, and trying to understand where the good is in it. Yes, I get there is some good stuff, but it's back to balance. There's too much of it. There's no kids running around outside on the streets. There's got to be a balance. Yeah, a little bit's fine, but it's just gone too far the other way. There's got to be better policies and restrictions, and I'm just sad that didn't happen straight away. I don't get why people didn't see it coming.
And we still haven't changed it. We're still talking about changing it, but it's taking a little bit too long. And nothing fills my heart more than seeing young kids on the side of the river going fishing, out there doing old school activities in nature, having a great time with their mates, and we're in the bike parks here and doing things, playing basically.
Yeah, that's right.
I think you used the mantra stop, pause, reflect. How much of that comes from your yoga background and that contact with Indian culture?
No, it was way before then. It was really when I first started being an artist, I think. Well, first, properly, full time. And so maybe after going through infertility and trying to be creative in another way, it really made me stop and reflect on things. And I had to just absorb my emotions. It was a pretty roller coaster time, not being able to have children and trying. And so that kind of did become my mantra. Yeah, I felt that was really important to stop. And I think maybe living in, because before we had children, we did live in Asia as well, and I had to definitely learn a lot there, how they did work slower and they did stop, and there was so much hardship, and I did a lot of learning there, and I just get frustrated that people are so busy. They just don't stop. Our minds are going crazy. We just don't stop enough, because it's that is the best time, is to have on reflection time, thinking time. Yes, you can overthink, but having the ability to find time to stop and reflect and absorb what you're thinking, it's got to make some good positive changes. We're not acting on impulse and reactivity.
Did you have a good support network back then, or was it just you and Nev that were basically, you had each other that you could talk to about that, or where were we at as a New Zealand society in terms of being able to talk openly about infertility and the challenges of trying to have children but perhaps not being able to?
Yeah, so that was 25, 30 years ago, so not a lot of talk then, no, there wasn't. But we had family support, it was really cool. On both sides of the family, and we had lots of nieces and nephews too, which sometimes made it harder. But no, we felt very supportive, more within our close circles of family and friends. So it was cool.
And how do you maintain your balance in terms of taking the time to stop, pause, and reflect particularly when you're in flow state and the work's coming and it's maybe you're getting a little bit late at night? Do you have to force yourself to stop, or is it basically no? This is it. It's happening. I'm on. Let's go.
Yeah, you have to force yourself because you're really hungry, and your neck and your back is killing you because you haven't looked up. So it's 2:00 in the morning. But you absolutely lose yourself in it for sure. Yeah, got to. Creative juices when they come.
So you've obviously experienced several, what I sort of think of as unmakings during your life and your career, and you're aware of them. That's also, I think, part of it is sometimes you're not aware of them when they're happening. Sometimes that comes with the benefit of hindsight. But those things have happened in order for you to become the person and the artist you are now. Are you the finished article, or is there more revolution still to come?
Yep, right through to the dying day. I think there'll always be learnings and hopefully creative. I hope I still always have the use of my hands. Yes, I will continue right through. And if I stop for a while, that's okay, and not to give myself a bad time about it, because it's not always there. And there are other parts of me, and life does get in the way, and yeah, but it's always there in the background. So, no, right through to the bitter end, I think. I hope.
And relatively organically or planned? Or is there now, you say, okay, I'm going to be doing this, and in a couple of years that's that thing that I'm going to be doing, or that material I'm going to be exploring, or?
No, nothing's really planned. No, I have to just let it go, let it be, let it come when it comes. Because as you can see, I just keep looking out into the view here of Glendhu Bay, and for me those mountains speak to me, the clouds, the water, the movement, they are my end goal of how I'm going to be creative. So I listen to what's going on out there and watch what's going out there. So hopefully I'll always have my sight. Although when I was carving in wood, that was something a blind person could do. They could feel my paintings, and that was kind of cool because they were low relief carvings, so they couldn't see the colour, but they could feel the mountains and the ripples in the water, and the movement of the sky, and I really liked that about it.
That was, I'm guessing, was relatively unexpected and not part of the goal of the work.
Yeah, it was experimenting at art school.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, and I did that for probably close to 20 years. I was doing relief carvings. I stopped because my wrist.
Too much hammering and...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so I do miss that a little bit, but that's okay. That was a chapter.
There's a small sculpture you made before you had children, a woman with her hands on her stomach. I've read that you hope will one day mark your grave. Tell me about her. When did you make her? What was going on at the time? And if people are one day, hopefully a long, long time into the future, standing at your grave looking at that sculpture, what do you hope that will give them?
It's probably more for me personally, but I do remember my father mentioning it too, and that was around the time that we couldn't have children, but that wasn't actually my intention. But again, what's in your subconscious, at the time I think we were trying to have children when I carved that, so it wasn't the plan, but it just happened. It just, the stone spoke. I was just the delivery person. So yeah, I think it is around infertility, maybe being a woman. I'm looking down, I'm holding my hands over my stomach, I've got long hair, and I think it's just a sign of human reflection. I'm looking down, I'm reflecting, and yeah, it is that touching of the stomach with my hands is probably more around just protecting myself and who I am as a person and a body. It's just who I am.